Hey there, and welcome to week 6. You have made it to the final week of our term. I really enjoyed this term so far and am really looking forward to seeing your final assignments as you submit those this week. All right, so just a brief overview of what to expect. You'll have your 4th application assignment, your book reflection project, and then your final action project. So let's talk through those. For your final application assignment, I'd like for you to submit a 2-page double-spaced paper where you're just reflecting on what you've learned about disability studies throughout the 6 weeks together. So some things that you can consider to include in this paper: what would you do on an individual level to combat ableism? So thinking about what you've learned about discrimination and prejudice within the disability community, what can you individually do to combat those oppressive experiences for the disability community? Then thinking sort of hypothetically, if you had all of the resources possible, what could you do then to combat systemic oppression for people with disabilities, for the disability community? And then what I'd like for you to really focus on this piece is thinking about how does the knowledge that you've gained throughout the last 6 weeks resonate with you? And so what are your key takeaways? If you think about the content that we explored last week around access and disability justice, tell me kind of how you identify or where you see yourself fitting in. Do you identify now as an advocate or an ally or an accomplice? Remember that it's important, as you read in that Carrere piece that I wrote that I shared last week, it's important to not identify as someone who wants to be an advocate for, but rather an advocate with, or not an ally for, but an ally with. An ally is not a role that I feel for me personally that I can claim, but it's rather a role that's given to me or assigned to me. And the role of an ally is truly to amplify the voices of folks in a marginalized community, not to overshadow or speak for, but just to amplify voices. So in this application assignment, I really want for you to tell me what stood out to you, what resonated with you throughout the term, and is this going to change your behavior or how you think about social justice for the disability community in some way. So I'm looking forward to seeing your reflections here. And then second, you have your book reflection project. So now that you've finished My Body Politic, I'd like for you to reflect on what you've learned. And so you can do this in 2 ways. You can do this through a traditional paper, and I have an overview of what to include in your 4 pages for this double-spaced paper. There's a rubric attached to the assignment. You're going to take 2 pages to provide a summary of the book, pull salient themes from Simi that were most important to you. And the 3rd page, I'd like for you to describe a specific experience or person that Simi encountered that really stood out to you, and talk about how that experience or that person is impacting your personal philosophies or impacting you in some way. And then lastly, for your final page, I'd like for you to describe how the overall concepts, people, experiences in the book really connect with your future career or just your future life in some way. Okay, so you can do this traditional paper or in the spirit of universal design, specifically universal design for learning. If you would like to do more of an open-ended project that answers these same questions and hits the same key elements on the rubric, I would love for you to consider exploring that. So that could be something like a video of yourself talking through all of these themes. It could be a journal that you create or a website. It could be a voiceover presentation, or it could be something really, really open-ended and creative. If you want some ideas for what this more open-ended reflective project could look like, feel free to reach out. I'm looking forward to seeing these. And then lastly, you have your action project. So given the nature of this as a online summer class, I know the majority of you are working individually. We've been talking about this project all along. I know many of you are planning on doing a watch party for one of the documentaries that we've watched throughout the term, and that's just great. But as you pull together your action project, I'd like for you to submit a 3-page double-spaced paper, essentially just telling me all about your project. So I want for you to first describe what was your goal or your mission statement, and then did you accomplish your goal? So what did you specifically do? Why did you do it? Sort of so what? Why does it matter? And then now what? So what are some next steps? All right. If you have an interview, if you have any pictures, anything you'd like to submit with this would be wonderful. So you'll submit your paper here on this link, and you're not going to do a presentation or anything like that. You'll just be sharing your projects with me. So I'm most excited to see what you've come up with your action work. All right, please keep in touch this week if you have any questions about any of these. And again, I really enjoyed this term with you. I hope you have a great rest of your summer, and take care.